people can be hypocritical and be like, hey, don't do this, but then proceeds to do it anyway. I think one of my favorite examples of like pure hypocrisy is that the creator of the guillotine opposed the death penalty. Weird, right? Like, why create a machine that causes so much death then? Let's talk about it. We'll be talking about the history of the guillotine and its impact on society throughout the French Revolution. The guillotine is an execution machine created by Dr. Joseph Guillotine Guillotine in 1791. It was initially designed to offer a more humane and less painful death. Look, guys, I know we haven't talked about the French Revolution since what, Unit 5? But it's pretty important for our knowledge about the guillotine. So here's a quick reminder. Unlike the American or Haitian Revolution, the French Revolution was a battle for representation. King Louis XVI had put France into debt, which caused an increase in taxes within the lower class, which caused major outrage. Peasants were mad at the unfair estate system. The Estates General Assembly represented three French estates: clergy, nobility, and everybody else. The clergy and nobility always voted together due to having similar interests, nullifying the Third Estate's vote. Then members of the Third Estate declared power for themselves and created the National Assembly. This led to riots like the storming of Bastille and March on Versailles. Soon, the National Assembly drafted the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen, which abolished power within the higher class. The National Convention was created, which was an era of liberty. France spiraled once King Louis XVI was executed by the newly created guillotine in 1793, which symbolized the end of monarchy. This created two revolutionary groups that opposed one another: Gordians and Jacobins. All I gotta know about the two groups is that the Gordians were pro-monarchy and represented the upper class of France. The Jacobins were the literal opposite, as they were pro-democracy and represented the lower class of France. The fall of monarchy left France under Jacobin rule, allowing for a Teutorian leader named Maximilien Robespierre to rise to power in 1793 and go on a murderous tyranny. Let's go to the thought bubble. We'll be researching to what extent has the guillotine changed society's use of justice and conflict with Enlightenment ideals. It's important to understand that the guillotine had such a big influence on the people of France. We have to realize that throughout the French Revolution, the era of the Reign of Terror enabled the use of the guillotine. The usage of the guillotine changed society's views of justice by using fear, and since the guillotine was influenced by Enlightenment ideals, the guillotine will contradict those ideas since it was used to retain political power. Let's delve into our first point, which is the guillotine and its association with fear. It was heavily provoked throughout the Reign of Terror because of ideas of conspiracy and new revolutionary violence. The most prominent example of conspiracy causing fear and murder in France is the September Massacres. And the September Massacres was like this whole idea where foreign royalist armies would go attack Paris and free political prisoners, which caused those prisoners to be executed by the guillotine and citizens were forced to watch. And the silly part about it all is that there were no foreign invasions. Then the conflict between the Gordian and Jacobin factions led to executions of each group, with the guillotine frequently used to execute Gordian revolutionaries like Antoine Lefebvre or Georges Danton. This quote is by Dr. Hampson, an English historian, and I think it perfectly reflects the brutality that occurred in the 1970s from the massacres. The sight of the guillotine was a reminder of the consequences of opposing the revolutionary government. It became a tool of intimidation. Originally, the guillotine was supposed to become an act of justice that removed criminals from Paris. But since the revolution went corrupt under leadership of dictator Maximilien Robespierre, the execution of citizens has arisen, causing the guillotine to become a symbol of terror. The last point, the guillotine and how it contradicts Enlightenment ideas. The Enlightenment advocated for justice systems that protected individual rights and prevented arbitrary rule, but the guillotine became a tool for political repression and justified the violence. Many unfair execution trials based on political standing bypassed France's justice system, emphasizing bias, which directly contradicts the following Enlightenment principles: due process and protection of individual liberties. This is a quote from Robespierre before he rose to ultimate power in 1792. Ironically, it's in favor of abolishing the death penalty, and this goes to show how obtaining such power and rule corrupts individuals. To add on, dictator Robespierre used Enlightenment principles to rationalize the Reign of Terror. His argument was that the fear from the executions by the guillotine was necessary for the revolution to be successful. The guillotine outwardly showed the barbaric nature of the government and dehumanized the people condemned to the death penalty. Soon, the guillotine became an instrument of political terror. Robespierre's logic was that fear drives obedience. It is a completely flawed idea, but it works, and it wasn't questioned because it was put under the eyes of the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment ideals emphasize having a more civilized and compassionate society, which is the complete opposite of the guillotine use in the Reign of Terror, as cruelty and barbarism in the society was normalized because of it. While the guillotine is a very complex topic, it was finally outlawed in 1981, and luckily society has evolved from unfair death penalties. Or have we?